Guys, I think it's ready for me to tell you how you should read SJM. Wait, I'm missing something. I need to get out the velocity. This sweater is very relevant for this video, so I'm putting it on. If you haven't guessed it already, today I'm going to be talking about how you read SJM and everything you need to know about Sarah Maas before you start. This here, you can't see the whole stack, but this here is like 16 books. This is 16 books. That is 3 series worth of books. If you've already read her books, let me know what you think. And let me know if I get anything wrong, because I could get something wrong. I'm not an expert by any means. Today we have got out the Velours sweater. I'm gonna be really hot during this video, but it's all worth it because we gotta have the sweater. This is from one of her series and I got it off Etsy and I love this sweater. I also have another one that is Sarah J Maas related. I don't know where it is though. But today we are going to be talking about what her books are about, how you can read her books, if they are worth it, my thoughts on her books, and everything Sarah J Maas. So buckle up guys, it's an SJM journey. Okay, so let's start with the basics. There are 3 series that Sarah J Maas has written. We've got the ACOTAR series, the Throne of Glass series, and the Crescent City series. The Throne of Glass series is an 8-book series that is her only completed series so far, and it is long, but it is so worth it. I love the Throne of Glass series. ACOTAR is only 5 books right now, 4 main books and 1 novella, and Crescent City is 3 books right now, going to be 4. There are different ways you can read the books, different orders you can read the series. I'm going to tell you my way of reading them and the way that I think you should read them for various reasons. This video is obviously going to be completely spoiler free to the series because this is an introduction. Why would I tell you what's going to happen if I'm trying to get you to read the books? Like, that makes no sense. So yeah, let's start with how I think you should read the books. So the series you want to start with, in my personal opinion, is the ACOTAR series by Sarah J Maas. This is what the series looks like. It is all very coordinated and coloured and is very bright and amazing. This is her most kind of romantic series, I think. It is the main, like, romance heavy more than fantasy heavy series. This is the one that I think you should start with because this kind of gives you an introduction into Sarah J Maas, and the other ones are way more complicated than this. This one's really easy to get into compared to the other ones. Personally, this book right here is one of my favourites of Sarah J Maas because it started the whole like STM obsession, and the way this book made me feel is so special that it's like unmatched, and it's rarely ever matched by any other books. This whole series is about a girl called Feyre who is kind of a huntress in her like small little village, and there is this wall that separates the human lands from the place called the Fey lands. But Feyre goes out hunting one morning and she comes across a wolf, and you know, it looks like a normal wolf, and she kills it and basically takes it back to her little like cottage home to feed her family. Something you should know is the humans are in like a very bad situation, just they're all like struggling and it's all ruled in like a bad way. They're all like in poverty. Feyre basically brings home the wolf and they eat the wolf, and you know, it's all happy days until someone or something knocks into their door. This creature is a Fey Lord coming to take revenge for what Feyre did because Feyre accidentally killed a Fey. This wolf that she killed wasn't a normal wolf, it was a Fey that was a wolf. It'll make sense when you read it. And this Fey Lord comes in and he's like, well, you can die here on the spot or you can come and live the rest of your mortal life in the Feylands. And so Feyre's obviously like, no, I don't want to die. So she goes with this Fey Lord to the Feylands, and she's kind of a human in a world that wants to kill her over the wall, and she's kind of living in a Fey world. And it kind of goes from there. It is such a good story, and this whole series is beautiful, and there's so many twists and turns. And one thing you should know about Sarah J Maas is the last 100 pages of any of her books, unmatched writing. So yeah, these books will keep you on your toes, they will keep you interested, and definitely make you read all 5 books because you just can't put these down. And to a normal reader, you may be looking at these and thinking these books are quite huge. Yes, they are, but once you start reading the big books, you never go back. The biggest book in this series here is the A Court of Silver Flames, and it is like 800 pages, I think. These are like 500, 600, and then you've got the little novella at the bottom. This one's just like a standard 400 page book. But yeah, this is the ACOTAR series. This is where my sweater's from. It's Velours, and it's a very special place in these books. As you can see, these books mean the world to me. They are tabbed, they are just so beautiful. I need to finish tabbing the last one, but apart from that, they're all done. These books just hold such a special place in my heart, and these are the best place to start when you're starting Sarah J Maas, and I would highly recommend the series. This is more, like I said, romance based more than fantasy. It's got obviously fantasy, but it's like very heavy on the romance, and it's more of a romantasy than the other ones. Like, all of them have romance, but like This one is very heavy on the romance, and it is also spicy, so just keep that in mind, that it has some like smut scenes and stuff in it, especially later on in the books. Like this one, so spicy, and it's just like all around basically. These first 3 books are all in Feyre's POV. They are first person, and then you get to the little novella, which is kind of multiple POVs. It's kind of trying to introduce you to different POVs, and the last one, which is someone else's POV. These last 2 are in third person, and then the rest are in first person. I don't know what the switch of POV is, but it's okay. We roll with it here in SJM's community. So yeah, that's kind of all you need to know about ACOTAR. I'll give my rankings for all of them at the end. I'll probably rank them from best to worst. We'll see. Oh, also a little bit of terminology for you. All of her books are called the Massiverse. It's kind of like a big universe that the mass community just call it the Massiverse. Now we're going to move on to which is most arguably the best SJM series, which is none other than Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. This is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas, and this is arguably her best series. This one does get a little bit complicated though, with like reading orders and what you can do when reading it, because this is an 8-book series. I know in my stack I don't have all 8 books. I'm missing 2 of them that I just need to get physical copies of, because I read most of these on my Kindle, but I'm just showing you them anyway. The 2 that you're missing is Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. I'll put them on screen so you know what you're looking for if you're going to go buy them. But this is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. It is her best series in my opinion. I love this series to death, and I will forever miss this series. And you may be looking at it like it's 8 books, that is a lot like to read, that is a big commitment, and yes it is, but when you're done, the hangover is unmatchable. It is, oh, it's so bad but so good at the same time. There is a little bit of confusion regarding reading order though, and I will explain to you the different ways you can read the books and the different things you can do. But for now, I'm just going to kind of tell you what it's about. This series is about an assassin called Selena, who is kind of thrust into this kingdom to be this king's like fighter in like some trials. It gives off Hunger Games in the first book. It's this assassin going in as the king's kind of fighter in the trials and fighting for the king. And if she wins, she gets to be the king's assassin, basically. She's fighting for a place in the kingdom against so many other people in these trials, and it's just a fun book. It is a really good fun read. I will tell you, the rest of the books do not feel like the first bit of the series. Genuinely, this series evolves like nothing else. Honestly, it is so good. There's such a good found family in these books. There's so many good characters. The main character, oh my goodness me, she is my favorite female character of all time. You will fall in love with these characters so quickly. You will cry, you will laugh, you will blush at some of these lines. There's so many things that happen in this series. It is so good. So that's kind of what the first book's about. Can't tell you anything else because the rest of the series evolves from there. It gets so much better, and when you get to the last book, which is Kingdom of Ash, aka the thickest book, this is pretty much 1,000 pages, but I wish it was longer. That is how connected you get to this series. Tears were shed in this book. Honestly, I wish I could reread, or I will reread actually. I wish I could read for the first time again. Honestly, this series is so worth it, and when you get to this point, it's like it takes part of your soul with you when you finish this book. Honestly, the last page, it rips something out of you, and oh, it's so good. So now let's talk about reading order. So there is a controversy of where to put this book, which is The Assassin's Blade, and this is the prequel to the series. Obviously, you hear prequel, you think, oh, first. Some people disagree. I personally read this book first, and I think it was good that I read it first because it gave me all my world-building struggles in this book instead of in the actual series, and it just made me get into it quicker. It also meant I wasn't spoiled for what happens in this book, because the thing that happens at the end of this book is talked about in these books, so if you wait and read this later, you're going to get spoiled for it and you're going to know what's going to happen, and it kind of spoils it. This book is just a bunch of novellas put into one book of like before the first book, like before this point, and it's just following Selena doing stuff and getting to where she is in this bit. I personally think this should be read first because it is a prequel. She wrote it as a prequel. She wrote it to come before this book, and it just makes it all flow in a chronological order, because if you're going back in time, that might be confusing, and again, you'll get spoiled because you know from these books what happens. So I think you should just read it first, because then you'll probably be hit and more affected, and I just think it's better read first. But you can also read it, there is an argument where you read it after this book, which is Crown of Midnight, and it would sit like this, and you'd read it in this order instead. Again, means you'd be spoiled, but it just sets up quite nicely for Airfire and people think that is the best way to go. And this one I don't really hear a lot, but you can read it after Heir of Fire and read it before Queen of Shadows, which I don't see that much, so I wouldn't really say do that, but that is also an option. The two popular ones is reading it after Crown of Midnight and before Heir of Fire, or just reading it first. I again think you should read it first, but it's completely up to you what you want to do. It sets up nicely for Heir of Fire, and yes, it is relevant in Heir of Fire, but if anything, just reread it if you really need to. I didn't, and I was fine. You don't need to reread it. People are just very particular about stuff. So I think read this first, personally, but it's completely up to you what you want to do. And the two books that I'm missing, which is Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, you can do an optional tandem read because those two books do not connect in any way, but they happen at exactly the same time, but in different places. So you can do this thing called the tandem read, where you read like part of one book and part of the other, and you just go by chapters. Yes, it's a longer process, and I did the tandem read and it did feel like a long process, but it is definitely worth it because the way Empire of Storms ends, you then have to read Tower of Dawn before you read Kingdom of Ash, and that's a whole other storyline in Tower of Dawn. And the end of Empire of Storms, you would die if you had to read a whole big book before you go into Kingdom of Ash. So I think doing the tandem is good. Yes, it's tiring, but it helps you enjoy Tower of Dawn a lot more, and it just helps you not have to sit through pain reading a whole big ass book after the end of Empire of Storms. So someone very kindly made a tandem read you can do. This is my tandem read. I printed it off. As you can kind of see, you just go by chapters. You've got a bunch of Empire of Storms and you've got Tower of Dawn, and it just like goes between them. You just swap and rotate between books. This has saved so many people's lives, honestly. But you can do this tandem read with Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms. It just saves you. People argue that you don't do that because it's complicated and stuff, but there are moments that you would miss if you didn't tandem read. Like, it is so good, and I died, and this one moment in the books makes it completely worth it to tandem read, and you won't get it until you read it, but there's just a moment, if you know, that makes it so worth it to do the tandem read. It is hilarious. Overall, I think the Throne of Glass series is her best series, and I will forever love this series to death, and if she decides to write more, I would eat it up. I would read every single page. These books don't get spicy until I think about Queen of Shadows, or maybe even Empire of Storms, is the point where it kind of gets a little bit like smutty. From this point down, it is completely YA and no like spice or smut involved. I do very highly recommend reading this after ACOTAR because there are moments in the series, or there is a moment in the series that you would completely miss if you didn't read ACOTAR, and it is so worth it. You need to read it. That is Throne of Glass done. And now finally we are on to Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. This is the shortest one so far. The first book, House of Earth and Blood. This book honestly is the best book ever written in my opinion. This is the best written Sarah J Maas book of them all. Just the way that I felt about this book, and the way this book just like, the whole plot, the romance, just every single little detail about this book was immaculate. There is no complaints about this book whatsoever. I love this book so much, and because of this book, and even the second book a little bit, I was convinced this was going to be my favourite series of Sarah J Maas. I actually did read this second after ACOTAR. I think I read part of Throne of Glass, and then I read this, and that was good. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is just stuff that definitely now you need to read Throne of Glass before you read these books. Because I read these books when it was just 2 and there was no third book. But the way the third book is, you definitely need to read ACOTAR first, 100%. You need ACOTAR before you read these books. And now you need Throne of Glass in order to understand a lot in this book. So you need to read both of them before you read this. But yeah, you need Throne of Glass, and you do 100% need ACOTAR before you read this. So 100% read them both before you read this. There is one tiny minuscule moment in Throne of Glass where this would help you, and you'd see something in Throne of Glass if you read these. But it's so tiny, you can just go back and see it. It's honestly, it's so tiny. I don't think a lot of people see it even when they've read all of them, but because I read these before I read the moment I did see it, but you don't have to see it. Oh my god, it's 10 times better to have Throne of Glass before these though, because the moments in here and the actual points are so much more important than one tiny little extra like Easter egg in Throne of Glass. So 100% read these third, read these last. These are so good and they're so worth the wait, but you need the other books before you read these. Crescent City is about a girl called Bryce Quinlan who basically, her best friend dies, and this book is basically just a big murder mystery as to what happened to her best friend, who killed her best friend, and it's just a whole big murder mystery with such a good romance and just Honestly, I love this book more than I can ever tell you. This is like the single best book ever written. And yeah, this series is just a big murder mystery as to what happened to her best friend, and yeah, it is so good. I will say a lot of people complain that they struggle to get into this book. I didn't see it personally. I got into this so easily and I loved it, loved every second. I read these books so quickly, no matter like how thick they are. Like, they are big books, but I read them so quickly. A lot of people do say that they do struggle to get into this book, like the first one, and that the world building is very difficult and hard to like wrap your head around, so keep that in mind. I personally didn't experience it and I thought it was perfectly fine and easy and I loved it, but some people find it so hard to the point where they consider DNFing this book because of how like complicated and confusing it is. But just go through it, just get through it. I promise you it is 100% worth it if you do struggle. These books, honestly, they are so good. I love these books so much. But that is just a little note, just in case you think you're gonna go into these and be like, oh, this is quite easy. No, it is a little bit complicated, but you will understand. You'll get through it, I promise. So yeah, that is Crescent City. There's one more book going to be added to the series, and then it's done because it's a 4-book series, and I'm really excited for the last one. This is the ultimate like where you should read these books. I can barely hold this stack. I don't know if you can like see this properly, but this is how you should read the books. This exact order is how you should read these, in my humble opinion. I'm trying so hard not to drop these right now. Anyways, this is the SGM universe. As of right now, it is a whole 16-book series, and it is worth every single book. It all starts with one book, one singular book, and you go into this beautiful world of Sarah Maas, and it is 100% worth every single step. Honestly, once you start, you're never going to go back, and I actually mean that. It is a full-blown obsession at this point. Now I'm going to try and carefully put these down and put them into a stack of my favorite from bottom to top. So my favorite's going to be up here, my least favorite at the bottom, and I will kind of tell you why I've put them in certain orders to try and tell you what my favorite books are and what aren't. This is a very bad way of explaining, but like it just saves me having to hold every single book up and give an opinion. Guys, this is my finished stack. Let's talk about it. Okay, so just letting you guys know, I have the little paper here which is to represent Tower of Dawn. Tower of Dawn goes in between, what book is that? It goes between Crown of Midnight and the third Crescent City book, House of Flame and Shadow. And then my Kindle is between Silver Flames and Court of Wings and Ruin. That is Empire Storms, because I don't have the books, I can't put them on the stack. But this is my least favorite up to the favorite books written by Sarah J. Maas. This may be very controversial, but this is my order of my least favorite to favorite. All of these books are 4 stars and above though. I love every single one of these books, but this is my order. Every single book here is good, not one book is bad, but this is my order, and now my arms really ache. I'm gonna put it down. But yeah, that is the introduction into Sarah J. Maas that you guys need, so you guys can get reading now. Get reading. 16 books, but get started. I hope this video helped you. I'm sorry if it didn't, but I just wanted to kind of make a video about how to read Sarah J. Maas, my ranking of Sarah J. Maas, that kind of thing. I do hope you enjoyed. I hope someone out there finds this video helpful, and I'm sorry for the mess this video is, but it's okay. But yeah, if you guys like this video and you found it helpful, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye guys!